All right then.
Me, me
Let's
and
uh let's get started with the show here. Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode of Theory Forge Fridays. Episode 7 here. This is totally normal. Just go with it. So, we've got Skylatron over here as our special guest for the day. And of the regulars, Sog up in the upper left, Velix up above me, and Locke over on the lower left there, who's going to be running things. So I pass it over to you, sir. Locke, get us going, please.
Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you happen to be in the world. It's lovely having you here at Theory Forge. I guess Neuro did the introduction, so should we dive straight into the topic? Are we ready? Are we ready, everyone? Do we feel ready? Vel's half smiling.
I'm ready.
So
I'm
is
ready.
giving me.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
ready.
So just there he is. He's pumped. There we
we do
go.
have a
So.
couple more people. We've got Geo and we've got Phantomex both in chat there, so they'll be addressing any questions, catching any for us to talk about, and hanging out with you fine folks. So, yeah. See, there he is.
Good times. So, speaking of introductions, the first topic I thought it'd be lovely to kick us off this week with our lovely special guest Scarletron, all the way from EQ Hammer, drafted in by Felix, no doubt. Beginnings, talking about the beginning of EverQuest Next. What's the best way that it can start in terms of story, in terms of player experience? Shoving us into the game. It's a big criticism, even though I'm enjoying playing Arcade at the moment, as many as you all know. My biggest criticism of the game is how it starts, and not just the first couple of hours either. So I was thinking, what good things can EQN do with the new technology? What pitfalls might they face? Does anyone have any thoughts of how they might like it to start or how they think it will?
Summarize the key points that they'll be going over from basically what we've learned in the lore books up to the point where we start through like a nice montage cutscene using the EQ music, the nice new stuff that's been composed for it, maybe even a more awesome version that could be composed for it because Jeremy Soule can do that. And basically, once all the cutscenes finish, the last one pretty much cuts to gameplay with your character that you created on the character select screen, and you go from there. Or maybe that leads into the character select screen, so you have more of a background and understanding of where everyone is and how they got there.
So would that be like a very story based cutscene then, as in giving new players a look back onto the lore and everything?
Yeah.
That's a cool place to start, I suppose, giving players a bit of background. Vel, I know you know a lot about a lot about the lore of EverQuest Next. Do you think you can fit all the important points, like everything, like a primer for a new player in an opening scene?
I think so. I mean, the way they have, I mean, they did that. I don't know if anybody saw that sandbox. I mean, not sandbox, but the sand art thing. At the previous SOE live was kind of cool. People without context of the lore maybe like didn't know what was going on, but they did show that they can kind of like show everything condensed, what happens. So I think it's definitely possible, and I really think like I agree with Neuro. I think they should do something like that because you know it's a story-based game. It's curving way back to the story in ways that games MMOs haven't in a long time. And when they have had story, it hasn't been intrinsically a part of what you're doing in the game. So having a game start out with story hasn't been as important in other games as it will be, I think, for in EverQuest Next. So that's hugely important. And I'd like just from the little bit of Arcade I did play, I would like, since EverQuest Next is really geared to be different and like truly sandbox, that all the sandbox elements that they can give you right off the bat, I would like to see those. Like you get to see them within the first hour or two, because I agree with you in that Arcade kind of, one of its biggest downfalls is that it feels like any other MMO for the first, I don't know, for the first 6-7 hours I played it. It felt like other MMOs.
At
You didn't
least
really
Much
see
longer than that.
the
Much
30,
longer
30
sandbox.
than
levels. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
I haven't even made it that far, and I don't even know if I will. Like, and that's a bad side to it. How many players are going to make it through, the first 30 levels to get, to the real game? And that's bad. I don't know. I'll pass it off. I don't
That's
know. That's my
that's
take.
what I hate. about MMOs right now is that you have to get to max level, or you have to get X number of hours in before you even start to get to the meat of the game. And I don't want I didn't play WoW for a long time because everybody's like, "Oh, it'll get good once you get to max level." Like, I don't want it to be good at max level. I want it to be good the entire time that I'm playing. So I hope that that's something that EQN can deliver, because I don't want my first 2 hours of tutorial or whatever to make me hate the game, which is normally what happens. Like the Wildstar
Do
Arc
you
ship.
think though,
Doing that.
Skylar, sorry,
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, putting you on the spot, do you think that those first 2 hours, even though maybe I assume everyone here and probably everyone in chat as well wouldn't need it, is it necessary for players that perhaps have never played an MMO before to have that there available for them? Do you think there's any way of reconciling the two desires there?
I don't feel like you need a starting area like the Wildstar Arc ships to show people how to play the game. I think if you have a good enough UI and good enough NPCs, that it'll come naturally, as long as it's organic. And that sort of starting area doesn't feel organic to me.
I like the idea of an event near the starting area, like you're on a wagon going out somewhere, it gets ambushed real quickly on the path, and that all happens procedurally. Other players could even intervene, and then completely different start for you than everyone else.
Well, this is something that I find that's interesting, and what EverQuest Next can do is that, since we know the row song is going to be our quest journal basically, but it's going to work differently because it's going to be dynamic and changing. Even the journal, if for the first stages, obviously we're going to get indoctrinated with the row song, because that's kind of like our connection to our UI and what we're going to be doing in the world. So they can take the row song and have certain areas set up kind of like starting areas, but not necessarily starting areas. They can be out in the world, but these are just a few places that don't necessarily, like, maybe really close to Kinos, so that they don't get affected by all the change, that are what show you different aspects of the world, and you're already just jumping right into your row song to find out about the basics of the game. And then from there you're already in your row song, and then you just lead out, and you don't even realize that you're not on a linear path, that all the things in your row song are you'll see as you change things that you're changing the row song. So having done your tutorial will almost feel like it was no tutorial, like maybe you were just making those choices, like it can kind of get snuck in there. So it's an interesting, the row song is like the most interesting aspect of the game to me, comparing it to other MMOs, because every MMO has a quest journal or a quest log, and we're all familiar with them, and this is the only one I've seen that's like totally different in concept. So that's why it's like one of the most interesting pieces to me, because it'll tie people into something familiar, but it's the thing that's going to show them everything that's different about the game. So I love the row song. Like I would talk about that like for an entire show. It's a really cool concept.
I think I'm going to have the right guest next week to talk about that for the whole show. If I can get him fully on board. I'm almost there.
Close.
You're very convincing.
For starting the game, the only good thing about Gauntlet was the tutorial. It was 5 to 10 minutes of putting you in a situation where you had to learn the controls and the system. If it took you 30 minutes, you probably should not have spent your money on the game. You probably should not have spent your money on the game anyway, like I did, but that's all the introduction there should be. That's all the introduction there
I want to talk about Gauntlet now. I was 50-50 on it, and I decided on something else.
I have fun with it.
Yeah?
I'm going to move on from Gauntlet, but that beginning of, you learn the controls, you learn the basic systems, you understand, you have an idea of what there is, and then you get dropped off. We already know in EQ Next you get dropped off in the same similar area, which may move as time goes on, but there's not going to be a whole variety of starting areas. But what I would like to see is a list of actual players with short bios who are online that at that time have signed up and they get some kind of benefit for it to say, well, you're starting out. Do you want to? Well, Skylatron usually works out helping these dryads or whatever. That the dryad and dark elf thing is what the example used in a lot of the talking, or whichever side, and have people, real players in the game, as contact points to get people jumping into an online community and experiencing the multiplayer aspect of the game. I think that EverQuest, when they introduced Glooming Deep Mines, made the worst starting area of any game that I've played in a long time. As I recently went back and did it, that Glooming Deep is the worst starting experience any player in any game ever. That's not really true, but it's bad. It's really bad.
It's
But
pretty
the
rough.
point is
I
that it's
agree.
a dumb starting area that has nothing to do with the rest of the game. Once you know the controls in this world that's governed by the Rose Song and an ever-changing environment, and working with people and working with NPC communities, having this whole world or area that's separate is irrelevant. What we need to do is we need to right away jump people into working with other people, getting involved with other people, and finding ways to make them a part of the community. When I
think
started
that's sort of the
playing
Guild Wars.
IKEA,
Sorry.
I talk about IKEA all the time because I had the best game experience of my life playing IKEA. And when I first started playing, it's a little bit different now, but a lot of it is the same, where you had to join a guild in order to gain skills. I don't think any game should ever do that outside of a MUD that only has like 400 or 500 people playing at its peak times. But and to level up in the guild, it was all about interacting with people. From the very beginning, you choose your guild, you're automatically inducted as a novice, and then you're contacted by the guild, and your life from then on in the game is shaped by your interactions with other players and the environment around you. And EQ Next is already set up to do that. So, all right, everyone's laughing already that once you let me start talking, you get the rant.
That's a good point, because I mean, like, one of my favorite aspects of the original EverQuest was the guide system that, came into it. That was really awesome, really brilliant, and I don't see why there's any reason they can't, modify that system, or, make a modern version of it where players are, given benefits, and well, I mean, the people that did it back then, they didn't really even get a benefit other than just being a guide, and they loved doing it. And there's a lot of people, I think, that, would take on that role and love to do it. So I totally agree with that concept, using players to be the tutorial for other players, in a formal sense, it's not just like you're relying on your players to do it. You're actually, incentivizing players to help new players, because then you're already building bonds, because then, those players have connected with you or whatever, and then say you're only doing it for a week or so, you go back into your normal world, and now there's, people that know who you are, and you have all kinds of connections. That's a really good idea. I really like that concept.
So it's
That
interesting.
is-
Sorry,
No.
Skylar, go on.
No,
Go
I was
on.
just gonna say that.
Let the guests
You're the
talk.
guest.
We talk
You're the
over them all the
guest.
time.
I'm just not.
You're the
Hold on.
guest.
Nope.
I'm waiting.
No, I think that's
Drink all you want.
um,
I'll still be here.
That's it. The guide program is something that's missing from modern MMOs. Asheron's Call had it as well. They had a pretty sweet program where players were the ones who were helping people figure crap out, and exactly like EverQuest was. They they ended up scrapping it, which is really sad because of legalities and having to pay people. So I do wonder if that has anything to do with not including it in modern MMOs. Kind of sucks, but I wish that we could see something like the return of that.
I think the pressure of numbers and player churn in a free-to-play game would probably put a lot of pressure on a system like that. I mean, in my opinion, something like that would be great, but maybe if you turned it around and instead of relying on volunteers from the veteran community, you almost incentivize veteran players in a way that you could just make a new player immediately useful to an established guild. So there was actually, if they were just useful straight away, if there was something that they could do immediately that was of benefit to a guild, so you actually had guilds competing over the large influx of new players who you'd expect to be coming in. I mean, it's a big AAA MMO with an established IP. You expect lots and lots of players to be coming in. So I think, and like Scarlett was saying earlier about the like why have one whole game which is kind of boring and a bit rubbish and essentially a protracted tutorial to get you to the point where you're actually playing the real game? Why not have players like ready, going, right, we need people, we need bodies, we need help with this kind of thing straight away. Nero, what do you think? What's the best way to incentivize veteran players to engage with newbies in a positive way?
Well, actually, and I can already see Sog shaking his head no to this as I say it. So basically, the idea is kind of think of the rating system that we have in Landmark, where a little request box comes up and you can click on it to go and review, and then you check the thing and you can thumbs up or thumbs down. Well, kind of a similar sort of thing in a different way. You opt into, and you can opt out at any time, to be a like a guide sort of person. You might have to establish yourself and have played for a certain amount of time or some other requirement, but it'd probably be a fairly minimal requirement. And as you're playing, if a request pops up, because not every player is going to even know about the guide system, but as a request pops up and somebody's looking for a guide, you or somebody else who is part of it will be able to respond to it. A queue will, start to form, and people can address the queue if they want to. They could potentially, if people are localized in the same area, group them all together, or kind of give them a waypoint to all group together, and then do it all as a group instead of helping one person at a time. And I think that's not only a good thing for being able to include other players, but it also creates very interesting role-playing opportunities. I remember back in Ultima Online, anytime a moderator or a GM was in the world, everybody flocked around, and it's like, oh my goodness, something's going on here, and a crowd would start to form. So if somebody's doing that, if they're acting as a guide, they've got the special guide glowies going off around them or whatever, then yeah, it's going to form a crowd. People are going to come, start asking questions, might need help with something, might not understand how something works, and just be able to knock out a whole bunch of stuff and help a bunch of people. And maybe even have the ability to set a timer, so when people come by, they see in 15 minutes I'm going to be done doing this and get back to what I was doing. Potentially even teleport temporarily from where you were at to where the side of the thing is that needs help, and then back to where you were at before, so that way you don't lose your position in the world if you go and be a guide for a moment while your buddies are taking an AFK break during some sort of a raid or some sort of a trip.
I like the simplicity of what Locke suggested. It takes a lot of the good points of what I think I was trying to get across, and really does pull it into a mainstream system of, like, if people can see that there are these active guilds or active groups of people that are working for things, and from the very beginning people can say, hey, you know what, they sound like people that I would like to help out, and have an in to immediately get involved in an impactful way. I think that that's the key. The key is to get people from the very beginning to have, for their actions to really have impact, and to streamline their involvement with other players. Right now, we have this thing where we go into games and say, I've been playing Star Wars Old Republic because I can go in there and I don't really have to talk to anybody, but the leveling, the questing is kind of fun and entertaining for me, and I don't have to worry about it. I can just go in and have fun and not worry. I don't play it like it's an MMO, though. I play it like a single-player game. But that's part of the problem of MMOs, that we have this separate game where we don't need to, and it's designed so because people are, I can't complete this on my own. Well, you were never really designed to complete this on your own. In a world like EverQuest Next, there need to be personal achievements of sorts, but the idea of accomplishing something on your own isn't as relevant as it is in a lot of other games, where accomplishment is, from my understanding of what we've been given so far, driving the story in the direction that you would like the story to go. And working as part of a team that includes not only other players, but the AI and NPCs as well. So the achievement is pushing things in that direction and being part of something larger. And every system from the ground up should be steering people to that. If we have this, well, you need to go do this and come back and you get a personal reward as the lead up to that end game of working as part of something larger, it doesn't make sense. And it'll be just like the reason that I don't play Arcade is not that if I were to go through all of that stuff, I disagree with what Arcade is supposed to be. It's that I've spent 30 hours or more of playing Arcade and hating the pregame.
Mm-hmm.
There should never be a pregame. There's no value. We've learned this already.
Well, there should be a pregame, just not that kind.
Okay.
The only good game involves alcohol. That's
hard.
really the only thing we should say.
But really,
I think
whole
that's actually true. Sorry, Skylar. Every time.
every time.
Don't
Don't have ideas
talk.
when I have
Go.
ideas.
You go.
Get out of my
You
brain.
go.
Get out of my brain.
I just.
What we're getting at, regardless of how we get there, is what I'm passionate about, and I know some of you guys are too, is community building. So regardless of how we get from A to B, I think that we all agree that community building is probably one of the most important parts of, no, you don't agree? Of EverQuest Next. Some of my best memories of MMOs come from early MMOs where you were required to work with other people. I cannot honestly think of a good memory that I have from an MMO where I was playing by myself. So I think that might be one of the most important parts, and
I have plenty.
disagreeing on how we get there,
I think it's the selling point of an MMO, isn't it? It's the reason that you play an MMO rather than
I would hope
a
so.
single player game or another kind of multiplayer game. That's gotta be. I mean, the thing to clarify, my thing about the guide system, I think that having player guides is probably the best way to go about teaching new players, but it's also probably the most unreliable way to teach new players, which means you can never rely on it. It means the system can only ever be supplemental. And if it's only supplemental, it means it's not the best way that it can be, which devalues having it in the first place. And just see where I'm going. that was my point about the guide thing. Where was I going after that? I wanted to talk there. I was reminded during that another thing that we're overlooking is giving players a context immediately, as well as we haven't really talked about giving players a desire to be engaged in the world beyond we just sort of assume that they're gonna want to get involved. So what do we think? Maybe getting some story hooks in there. Like, what should the Row songs say Like as soon as you come up on the beach or whatever to the mainland, what should the first thing, Velux? What should the Rosong say to you? The first thing as you
It's
arrive on the shore.
it's gotta tie into, what it has to tell you from the beginning is what, after whatever intro they decide to do for some type of lore story, cutscene, whatever they decide to intro with, the very first thing the Rosong needs to tell you has to be the core, like the core most important facet of the game experience. Like whatever this game is that's totally different than every other game, like, which I think is your player agency, is really like what they're in all the systems they're doing, in everything they're doing with EverQuest Next, like creating meaningful player agency is probably like the number one difference between this game conceptually than any other MMO so far that we've seen, especially any other AAA quality MMO. So the first thing the Rosong has to tell you is it has to let you make a choice right there. Like the very first thing it has to do is give you decision-making power. Even though you're in a tutorial, you need to be shown that you can make meaningful choices right out the gate. Like in the first 5 minutes, you have to be making impactful choices. Like I don't know. I know they talked about how we'll get 8 or so basic classes to choose from in the beginning, and we'll choose one, and from there we can unlock all the other 7, as well as the other 33 or more planned at start. So if that, maybe that's a decision that we make within the tutorial. We don't pick, it's not like another game where you pick your class at character create. You just create your character, you go into the tutorial, and then you make a decision on your gameplay that gives you your first class. Like I think that's what has to happen in order for them to, like, for people to get the game right out the gate. People that have no idea coming in, they just come in, they're like, I'm gonna try this game out. They come in, the Rosong, like immediately the Rosong has them make a choice. When they make that choice, it has consequence. Now, okay, now I'm this class. I've got to be this class until, and it's not necessarily a negative consequence, because you're not locked into only that class. Like in other games, you get like this, oh, I didn't know, I would have chose something else. In this one, it doesn't. There's not that weighted negativity, but it still has consequence. So I think that's what has to happen, for the tutorial, for the beginning stage of this game, and from what the Rosong does right out the gate, it has to do that. Other words, people are going to, have the same experience with other things, and they're never going to make it through, to the mean. And that's rant over.
With the I agree completely with this, and it could manifest itself as saying, so the character creation in the start is a like Final Fantasy style question asking, hi, who are you? And you type in your name, that kind of that there's a little bit of reminiscence, but it doesn't have to be quite that cheesy. But you say, so what are you here for? And then you get a couple options that you could choose, like, I would love to do this, and then it helps to guide you through a set of decisions that you make for what you want to do, and you end up with a weapon that you can use that's your first class or whatever, because a lot of it's going to be item tied, and a place to go, and people to connect with, real people to connect with, who are focused on doing similar types of things. And then after that, if you decide that you want to do something else through your interactions with other people and interactions with the world, you're learning how to do that, and you can make the change.
I think for me, that idea of the questions going through at the start, or having having a bit of an impact on the way your character feels or likes to approach problems, is the type of thing that could really kick off the Rosong, because they said they want the Rosong to guide us to types of content that we'd be interested in. So that might be a good way, just for the first couple of things. It was interesting. It sounds like, from what you two were both saying, it almost sounds like the best way to introduce new players to the game would be to just let them into the world, almost to take the training wheels off as early as possible. Do you think that'd be a fair thing to do to new players? Maybe
Well,
someone who's never played an MMO, just bought a PC and thought this free game looked fun.
yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean,
god, what is
really,
that?
the only input that you really need as far as like tutorial, guide, like is just pop-ups, that say, hey, this does this, as you're going, but you shouldn't have any other part of the thing like thrown directly at you. It should be, a learning experience. Like you shouldn't go in like you know what you're doing. Like in other games, you do your character create as if you know how the game works. You're picking your class, you're doing all this stuff. Like I like what Sog said about like the old Final Fantasy style. You go into the game and it asks you, "Hey, what's your name?" and you put it in like this type of stuff. Like you should go into the game with the concept that you don't know anything about it, and you're just, and as you go in those earliest stages, you're finding out, and the game's almost, and because of the way this game works too, it's also kind of figuring you out. The Rosong probably has to figure out how to start, creating interesting things for you, or showing interesting things that you would be in. So I think it almost has to, I mean, if they want it to be truly, providing things that are interesting to you based off your past actions, it's gotta, give you options right away so that you can choose things, and it automatically kind of starts figuring out what types of things you want to pursue with your character's, story or career or what have you. So
So do we think, Neuro, you've been ever so quiet. Do we think that the classic tutorial island wouldn't actually be the best option for EQ next?
No, like I said
That's some shaking
earlier,
heads.
the idea of actually starting with an event of something that's actually going on in the world. By the way, your camera froze for me.
I know, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It feels
You can
like I've
talk without
slipped
moving
into
your mouth.
another
It's pretty
dimension.
impressive.
But yeah, I think that's the sort of thing. Like you and a couple other people just created their character, and there's maybe 20 different ways that it can start, and it can start anywhere within maybe a half a kilometer radius of one of the starting zones if there's more than one. And it's basically some event that happens. You have to kind of defend yourself. You're not really at too much risk because there's other people there that are fighting, other players and possibly NPCs. And then afterwards, you'll have the choice. Do you want to continue? Venturing. Hey, do you want to? Blah blah blah. Oh, they took my such and such. Let's go after them. And you can be like, oh, let me go back to town first. I need more supplies. Or yeah, let's get them. And some people might choose A, and some people might choose B. But then you're already starting. That's your first story break interaction after your first battle. That's awesome. I think that's great. In fact, that's actually your second story break interaction, because fighting off whatever it is that attacked you guys is actually the first one. But I think that's a much better way than fetch me three bottles of milk. Go milk my cows. Oh, I've got 10 rats. Could you please smash their heads in glorious fashion with
No.
this mallet? And in
I
EverQuest
cannot.
Next, we would say, no, I don't want to smash rats. That's gross. You handle that.
I really think that finding ways to get players involved with other players right away is the only way. And then when people decide that they want to rush head first and do this, oh, I'm just a noob, I'm just trying this game out to see what's happening. Well, now you have to make a choice. Do you want to interact with the people around you who can help you find the things to do that help them? So that's the other thing. The new players have to be able to do something that helps the efforts of the very advanced players. So a new player comes in, and you know what? If it is kill 10 rats, or go get some water from the river, or go get whatever it is, I know that it's not coming from the NPC. It's not coming as a system in the game, if that's what it is. It's, look, this is the first thing you're doing, and it's going to help you build up some of your skills or get you involved. And the fact is, we really need you to go get water from this river, or we don't have water to put out the fires that the imps are starting in the wherever, you know, just picking things that kind of thing. That there can be these menial tasks, and there should be these menial tasks, but it doesn't feel like a menial task if you're actually helping. I'm going back to IKEA. In IKEA, there used to be a once every 12-day event called landmarking. Oddly, there are these landmarks in the world that the two of the major factions competed against, and controlling them affected how well their reserves of power regenerated, which is irrelevant. But anyway, how it happened was doing quests over and over again, and there was PvP contention over it, but there was always something for like a level 1 player to do to be a part of the overall team helping everything. So you needed to gather buckets of blood to sanctify perform a ritual to sanctify a waterfall, for example. So there were people that were out hunting, there were people out doing anything, there were people actually at the waterfall, which was always an active PvP zone, so they were the best fighters in the game. But there were level 1 players in the city who collected corpses that other people brought and butchered them and prepared the buckets for other people. That was something where they were actually involved in a major world event, and these people, they felt and were important. They kept playing. I guarantee you they kept playing. Anybody who helped out as a level 1 player on something like that would be great.
And that's exactly the kind of thing that I'd be hoping for, to be honest. Sorry, Val, carry on.
Oh, I was going to say, like, building off a couple things Sog was talking about. One, them not using levels. Like, I actually wrote a couple articles this week. Like, one of them was, like, I got to kind of rant about, how levels are such a terrible mechanic in most MMOs. They're basically a content gate. But all that aside, anyways, like, the fact that we don't have levels already empowers new players to being impactful right away with their one class, their limited skill set that they have. They can already do, they can already function, effectively the same way that a max level character could. Because they already have, they already have the full set of abilities that you can use in combat at any given time. So I think that already empowers them. But the other thing that I really wanted to talk about that was building off what Sog was saying was, oh my gosh, I'm totally drawing a blank here. And this was like a really, I had something really good that I was thinking of when you were talking.
Okay, and you were talking about the two articles, you did the levels one and the PvP.
Well, the NPCs, directing NPCs. So like, this is something I talked about in an article this week too. It was like, one interesting like dynamic and I don't know if they've done it in other MMOs. I haven't played everything out there, but the fact that you can, you actually, they told us this at SOE Live this past year, that we can tell NPCs what to do. Like they can actually be, our minions in a sense in different ways. So I think, in that early starting phases, you should be able, like instead of getting the NPCs that are giving you orders, like we're going to be giving NPCs orders. Like the Rosong will kind of be directing us, but we're the heroes, and we're not the we're not the one Neo, of the story. We're just a hero, and the NPCs recognize us as being somebody that's specially tied to magic. We have a copy of the Rosong, like and Morgard has talked about. They're going to give us an explanation as to how we get a copy of the Rosong because it's a big deal. Like this was a legendary artifact that a god, Solasek Ro, himself, created to record all of his knowledge as he explored Norath and the universe, and we get like a copy of that. So that's like, in lore, the story arc goes, that's the plot, as far as plot goes, that's a big deal. So, us having this power and being a special hero, and that is going to give us agency, on our own, and then being able to, I can't think of a good word for it, but boss around the NPCs, direct the NPCs is going to be another big difference between this game and most MMOs. You know, most MMOs, even the smallest little, you know, who the fuck is your name, you know, out there is going to tell you what to do. Oh, go kill 3 rats for me. I don't want to kill 3 rats for you. Who are you? You know, like, we get to be, you know, more important in the story, not more important than any other player, but we get to be more important than the NPCs, you know, well, than most NPCs, but not than, you know, the superheroes and stuff. You know, like Fiona Vi will still be a hero important. She's going to be, like what they said, you know, they're going to take a lot of these classic heroes like Fiona Vi and others and make them, you know, like us, put them right into the thick of it with us. She's another hero. She's a ranger, you know, just going through the world like we are, you know, helping expand the frontier of Kinos, you know, and, you know, exploring the rest of the continent. So I think this is like a really important difference, you know, in this game between the other games. So I don't know. That's something I was thinking about while Sog was talking about similar things, and I had to throw that out there. So I'm done.
I think it's an excellent point. Just being slightly different in the world, like rather than the game telling you through a scripted story that you are the chosen one, like actually, you know, your decisions having impact in the world is really a game changer. But I think we've talked about this for long enough. So, but what I would like to do before we move on is ask all of you guys if you could briefly tell us a little bit about what you'd like to do, your first session logging in to EverQuest Next ever. You know, server problems, etc. aside, your first session logging in, what would you like to do the first thing as you log in? Skylar, go.
All right, I'm going to go pretty unpopular on this one and say I would like to log in, possibly in an area that is not crowded with a bunch of people clipping over each other to make it look like there's a billion people standing in the same spot. I hate that. And maybe in an inn or something else along those lines, which is generally where you start in a D&D campaign. And nothing. I would not like. I would like to maybe hear NPCs saying, "Oh, did you hear about the orcs that are attacking the blankety blank or whatever?" And go, "Oh, maybe I should talk to them and see what's going on." I could probably help with that, but I don't want an arrow telling me where to go, and I don't particularly want a pop-up box telling me, "Oh, you could go talk to some NPCs, you know." And I don't want question marks or exclamation points. I don't want that. I want to be able to choose what my starting experience is like, and yeah, I know that people are really okay with being guided now because we're so used to it, and I would prefer to not be. Yeah, you guys are an exception. You guys are an exception. People go, "I don't want to be guided," and then they log into a game where they're not guided and go, "I don't know what button to push." So,
Skylar, quick question: Do you really think? Do you think it's the players that want to be guided, or do you think it's publishers that are scared that players will not know what to do and get bored and log off?
No. It's absolutely a
this
response to players. It is a response to what players were doing in World of Warcraft when the AI was allowed to be modified. So a lot of these features that we talk about hating are the result of Blizzard looking at what people were already doing to their game. It isn't the publishers wanting to guide people. It's that people were playing World of Warcraft more and more and more as these mods came in that told them exactly what to do whenever they were supposed to do it. And the player population and catering to that and listening to people that play the game created this thing that we call a problem.
Sog has literally taken the words out of my mouth. That's.
I know. I think a lot of it was just the mods sort of they're creating a new path of least resistance. That's what people are always, people are going to be drawn to that. They want to put the least amount of effort in to get the maximum amount of gain. And if you give people the choice of going, do you want to do it the hard way or do you want to do it this streamlined, easy way? So does that mean it's the responsibility of the developer? Do SOE have to make a stand and go, no, we're not gonna make it
Yeah.
easy for you in that
I
case?
I think so. Otherwise, I think that we're just going to be in easy mode all the time. And it might also be the meanest thing of me to say, but I don't particularly care if someone who is brand new to MMOs knows how to run in it. And I don't want a pop-up telling me how. Back when we started playing MMOs, likely, I think, I'm pretty sure, we didn't know what the hell to do. And we had to figure it all out ourselves.
Ultima Online came with the book that had instructions.
Yeah.
There you go.
Um,
Maybe that's
Back
the,
in
maybe that's
MMOs,
the
that would be
trick.
fine. And I
of
could just go
game
directions
store
book,
shelves.
delete.
All right, let's go. We're getting derailed. God damn it! I derailed my own thing.
Yes, you did.
Sarg, first play session. What would you like to do? What would you like to see? How would you like to be introduced to EQN?
I want to be introduced to another player immediately. Well, given being involved in the development process from Landmark and being involved in all this, I want to be one of the players that people are introduced to. I want to be introduced to another player. I want to have interaction with another real person right away. As soon as I choose my name, I want to have the option to talk to somebody. I want that to be something prompted. I want to be a part of an interactive community from the very beginning. And if you can do that, if any game can do that, I'll stay. I will stay. If when I walk into the game I'm meeting new people, walk or click or whatever the actual action is, when I start a game, I want to be interacting with real people in a meaningful way immediately. That's it. I don't care how that happens. I want to be connecting with an individual. That's why I'm playing an MMO.
We've actually
if it's
seen-
not in there, I'll send you a tell as soon as we look.
We've actually seen
if it's not big.
somebody say the opposite. I saw Noodlecat was saying she actually doesn't like forced interactions with players. She would probably prefer to have exactly the opposite as a way to start the game. For me, it's a hard question to answer because my first time logging into EverQuest Next is going to be the first day of the earliest version they're going to give access, and I'm mostly going to be focused on giving them feedback after the Dave Georgeson video. So it's, I don't know what day one of actual, live gameplay is going to be like. It's going to be hard to answer, but I know that's going to be shaped by my experience during, early access, alpha, beta, and all of that sort of stuff.
So Neuro, let's play pretend for a minute. Let's say
I'm a doctor.
say that
Oh, wait.
Let's say
Wrong play pretend.
we did that in Vegas. You said we'd never speak of
That's
it
true.
again. Let's say that something weird happens and SOE somehow using time machines bring out EverQuest Next fully formed and complete, not open beta, full release immediately without
Full release.
with a full release phrasing. And that's the first thing. The first time we get to see it is the full and complete game in your heart of hearts, in your deepest, darkest, most twisted and perverse desires. What would you like to be confronted with in EverQuest Next?
I would probably approach it with the Stanislavski's questions for stage actors. Who am I? Where did I come from? What am I doing? Where am I going? What am I trying to get? How am I trying to get it? What's keeping me from getting it? And what am I trying to do to get around that? And kind of playing that into the world. I'm probably going to roll a Karen, and I probably want a boat so I can go fishing. So those will probably be the first few things that I focus on.
All I can think of now is the questions from the end of Inside the Actors Studio. Just at character creation, what is your favorite curse word?
I love that.
Anyway, yeah, Velix, first play
So
session, logging in for the first time.
So mine's a combination of a lot of people's that have already talked because you guys had really good ideas. But like mostly like what Skylar was saying, like when I look back at my all-time favorite games of all time, like Shining Force for the Sega Genesis, Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation, all like these different games that I played, and the original EverQuest, my first MMO, UO as well. I played a little bit, but these games like you didn't know what to do. You had to figure it out. Like the game came in understanding that you didn't know the game and that you were going to be curious. Why are you even playing the game? It's not like you're going to log in and be like, "Oh, nothing's prompting me. I guess I'll log out." Like I don't sorry, I like have to try not to laugh here. Like I don't ever like understand where the thought came in. Where like you have to decide like, okay, we need to tell players what to do. Like they're gonna find out what to do. Like this, especially if your game is fun right out the gate, they're gonna figure it out. So I think coming in is kind of like that. Not an amnesiac sort of situation, but really like I like what Skyla said about not everybody starting in the same location. Like maybe everybody starts in Kinos, and there's like 20 or 30, random spawn points, and there's one NPC nearby that will, be, talking and already attract your attention, and there's all these different locations, and then immediately, like, you're not getting the same experience that everybody else is getting, which is another, huge selling point of EverQuest Next. That's one of the big concepts for them that makes it different is your story is going to be unique. Your choices are going to matter, and they're going to be different than everybody else's. So I think I want that to happen. Wherever I log in, maybe I log in the sewer, underneath the city, and there's some old hobo there, hiding down, and maybe he's my starting guy. I don't know, but like I'd want something like that to happen. But then also combining what Sog is talking about, like the thing that MMOs give us that other games don't give us, or other formats, I should say, is that the massive multiplayer interaction and capability. Like you don't get that from anything else. I mean, I understand now, like console games are online and that's becoming a thing, but still MMOs are the king of social interaction, or they started that way. They've derailed from that. But I think they need to return to that, and I think social interaction, like Noodlecat was, you mentioned Noodlecat's interest, Neuro, but I don't think it should be forced, maybe, but definitely you should know right away that like this is a world full of other players, and that should be something that you experience in the first 5 minutes. I don't, maybe that has to be forced for that to happen, and it's not like other social interaction is going to be forced. If you're not interested in it, you can always tell the player, oh, I just want to experience it on my own, and then that guide can be like, oh, okay, well, let me know if you need any help. It's not like it's going to feel this pressure situation. Like I really think having social interaction right out the gate is an important feature in MMOs that's lacking mechanically, and especially in the tutorial experience. So that's kind of my like infusion of what other people have said, but I really think it needs to have at least those two elements, maybe more. I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head, but that's it for me.
I love how in this much longer chat than I anticipated, we seem to, correct me if I'm wrong, but us here, we seem to have come to the consensus that for the starting experience of EverQuest Next, we don't want to have any bullshit starting experience. We just want to play the game. That seems to be it. We don't want any tutorials. We don't
I
want any
concur.
leveling. We just want to be in the world, and we want to be able to interact with people and interact with the world meaningfully immediately.
Well, I think we've designed
one
EverQuest
thing
Next,
was-
guys. We're done here.
Yeah, done.
One thing was
Check.
brought up in the last couple minutes by Neurotoxin that we kind of laughed about, but I think has value. That I used to buy games and pre-order them and get an instruction book. I used to read like 50-page instruction book before ever starting to play a game outside of the game.
We just talked about this on Live Feature Rant.
It didn't feel like I was having a bad experience playing the game, but it taught me everything I needed to know to jump into the game. Now, because we just download everything and you have to open a README file and try to find the information you want because you don't have that book, I think there was a lot of value to that's missing and people are still trying to find ways to convey that information in a better way, and the good solution hasn't come about yet.
I'll give you my pros and cons on the book. Definitely the fact that it's something that you can look at and learn and understand before you even get into the game. That's awesome. The fact that you can have somebody, a lot of times I'll be playing along with my dad or my brother, so having the wingman who, is keeping a look on the controls when there's something I need to do that I forgot what the button was for it or the combination of buttons to get to it, they'd be able to look it up for me. So it wouldn't be that big of a problem. I'd be able to do what I need to do without too much problem. It'd be a lot of fun. But I would say what we've been getting more now is because the games are actually complex enough that we can have meaningful in-game tutorials where instead of reading in a book and seeing, okay, it's tap, tap, and button to do this combo, you'll actually have a little tutorial or training area where you can practice it and get the timing on tap, tap, button for the combo and be able to feel it out. How fast can I do those 2 taps before I press the button? Is there too fast? What other consequences? Is it tap twice but not get into a double tap like a fast run sort of thing? So it's that sort of thing that while you don't necessarily have that book handy and you can't quite reference that page of things, though some games you can still get like a little printout or something, it's the idea that if there's something where you can learn how to play the game in the game, it's one less place you have to look to be able to learn about the game. And I know that's actually a big emphasis with EverQuest Next is, with the Rose Song, it is to try to learn as much as you can from the game, from within the game, so you don't have to go out looking for wikis and looking for information in other sources. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
I think it's interesting in education at the moment. The real kind of hot subject that everyone's going on about is the different ways that people learn, and the educators are very up and trained now on like the different ways people prefer to process new information. Some people work better by reading, some people work better by hearing it, writing, getting hands on and doing. There's various different ways that people process information the most effective way. So perhaps having those different, I always hate the answer being options because it always seems like such a cop out, but perhaps having a few different options might be the best way to go about it in this case.
I'm opinionated about this. It is a cop out because I did like 2 years of cognitive skills training with like kids, young adults and stuff, and like the different learning methods or like different ways I learn are really just about like memorizing information, really how best people memorize. But when it comes to like actually learning, it's all about, an interactive experience. Like when you're actually doing something, there's no better learning method than that. Like it doesn't matter who you are and what your, preferences are. Like when you're actually doing something, it's the best way to learn. But as far as memorizing other material, there's a lot of different ways to learn. But I think, and it's why gaming has like started to infiltrate the education, system, because, it's an interactive experience, and teachers are finding out that, kids learn through, playing games. They learn through experiences, and that's, I don't know. We're gonna get totally derailed here. I'm gonna stop right there. But yeah,
no, I absolutely agree with you. I think interactive experience is definitely the way to go, and I think I'm personally really pleased that video games are becoming more prevalent in education. I'm laughing so hard at SAG's code giveaway right now. You can't see because I'm frozen.
We wouldn't know that. Yeah, we wouldn't know that you're laughing because you're being telepathic right now.
Yeah, that's how I do all my communicating. Right, so
Locke's
that
frozen
was
in
that
time,
was a long
just like his
discussion.
beard. he's just an ancient
I am well,
individual. His wisdom
as we all
is
know,
pouring.
as we all know, I'm not bound by the same laws of causality as you are. That's why I'm always exactly 400 years old. So that was a long conversation about EverQuest Next and games and life and love and the ennui, the incredible lightness of being. And I guess people are poking me and saying question time. Have we
People are
got questions
poking
for
you
half an
right
hour,
now?
or are we gonna?
How many
Yeah,
people
I
are
mean
poking
you can't see.
It's
like
Fu, but
12?
she's using both hands and all of her fingers. She's basically
If
just
Fu
going like
is
this
there,
to
I'm
him.
really mad right now.
Got
I need to see Fu.
furious
I need my
mitts.
fix. I need her
Ah,
face.
well, how many months is it, Skylar?
10.
Is it 10?
Smitty.
10 months.
10 months.
10 months. Then you can
Well,
get back
actually,
in your,
we don't
in
know
your
that
little- in your
because
little
SOE
cave.
Live has been in October in the past. It was actually, I believe, 2012 was in October.
No.
Don't do
That's
this to
so
me.
sad.
But then the next
That's
one
so
might be
sad.
sooner after.
It's in April. Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Well, on that bombshell, I guess we should move on. Controversial topic. Are we ready for a controversial topic?
Bring it on.
Not to do so much with
Absolutely.
in-game stuff, but as I'm sure many people here are aware, the Extra Life charity gaming marathon things will be kicking off very soon. Sony Online Entertainment has their own team as part of their new Play It Forward initiative. So the question is, I suppose, is that the optimal way of Sony going about helping with Extra Life? Sug, I know.
I
I'm
feel
trying
like
to
Sug
phrase
has
it.
an opinion
Trying to
about
phrase
this.
it in a way. Sug, go for it. You just go for it.
Everyone knows, I hope, by now, that I am busting my ass for this cause. I
Ass
believe in it
busting.
100%. I honestly have not gained a single donation from my stream towards myself since beginning to tell people to not do it so that they can donate to this cause. I have been working to gather, as of now, a pretty large number of more than 20 professional or, quality amateur streamers together. Some of which, like Noodle Cat and Murnet Play in the chat here, are the highest donation earning members of the team that we have right now, and they've done great. And we're going to raise a ton of money. My opinion on SOE streaming from their own channels for this cause is that they're hurting everyone. That more money and more benefit would come from finding ways for SOE to promote the people who not only do this, some of them even for a living, and are putting it out there that they're going to be doing it for a charity, but to get them to give them a benefit or some kind of kickback for playing their game during this time, make more money, and let people that do it better than them do it. That's the biggest issue. And I don't care, and I'm not saying that I'm better. There are a lot of really, really good people at streaming out there, and every time, and an official SOE stream, unless it is giving hints for what's coming in the future, unless it's giving information that we've never had before, is never as good as the actual entertainer doing it. I would rather watch Skylatron stream EQ Next or EQ2
Next, I'm in.
or H1Z1 or whatever is there than watch Landmark Live, for example.
Okay.
I would rather.
Here's where
It's
I'm going to
better.
disagree. All right, here's where I'm going to disagree. Couple of things. One, on the list of SOE streams that are happening during that day, they do have a list of community streams and what time they're happening. So they are promoting other people, but we don't know how heavily they're going to promote them until the day comes. So I know that's right. They're only streaming from 9 to 5. So they're not even going 24 hours. Okay.
It always hurts numbers.
2. I forgot. Hold on. Something. 2 was, oh, people are interested, maybe not you, because you've met them, but some people in the community are interested in seeing their favorite devs or their favorite community people play the games that they promote or the games that they design. I think that that's important. Their viewership might be higher than mine or yours. So I think that that might get more donations. But for giving special items, I do agree with that. Last year, if you were on Tryon's team, you got special codes for certain donation marks. I definitely think that SOE should do that if you're on their team.
Every time a wonderful woman who goes by the Twitch name of Pentapod streams Landmark, every time that happens, she's very nice, met her, love her, does a great job. It's random.
Agreed.
And it does more harm to the people that focus on streaming the game at that time than it does positive for the whole community, in my opinion, because it pulls viewers away from a focus that could be continually supported in a pseudo-official sense. And like I say, I love her. It's not personal. It's the fact that there are 2 ways to go about managing people streaming your game. One is the way that Smite does it. Smite pays people to stream their game, and 24 hours a day, there is a Smite stream going on Smite Game, the Twitch channel. There are people paid to do this all the time.
Well,
The other way to go about it is to actively promote and find other people to stream your game and push that and do everything you can to push that. But when you meddle and you try to find a middle ground, you're not maximizing the potential of either side.
so you're saying basically no developer should be streaming their own game at any time because it could potentially be conflicting with somebody else who's streaming the game.
No, I'm saying that they could get more benefit out of finding ways to be involved with people that are doing this. Instead of saying, I'm going to stream this game, say, hey, I'm going to join this person who regularly streams our game, and I'm going to help promote them. Because it's about where the energy is focused. It's about either harnessing the energy of people who are promoting you basically without you paying them and in their own time, and getting money sometimes for some people from other sources for doing so, or putting all of the energy in yourself. And when you try to mix it up, you're not focusing well enough. I know people don't want to agree with
I
me
would
on
say-
camera. Whether
I understand what you're saying.
Schedules. That's what I'm going to say.
I understand what you're saying. That doesn't mean I agree with it. I understand completely what you're saying. I just think that developers promoting their game is an okay thing, even if they're terrible.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that the demonstrations is what she's been focusing on. She doesn't go in and, here's me mining in the caves. Hey, look at this. It's doing a very specific tutorial is usually what she actually streams. Now, I could understand if that was on a schedule, so everybody knows. Oh, hey, if I'm streaming at that time, I know I'm going to be conflicting with the Pentapod show. But at the same time, I personally, I think it's really good whenever a developer streams, whenever the fans can actually come and interact with them directly. And while it might not necessarily be directly supporting the other people who are streaming at that time, they actually can, at the end of their stream, use the leverage they've got, all the people that came there, and do a raid somewhere and potentially, boost the numbers of one channel or another. But regardless of that, if it's actually on a schedule, I don't think that is really a problem. I think it's, if you do the same time every day and it seems just so happens that it lines up with them, that's fine. I don't watch Landmark workshop show anymore, at least when it's going on, because I'm already streaming at that time, and that's fine.
It's a difficult thing, isn't it? Because I have to imagine that a lot of people's first experience with Twitch would be an official developer broadcast.
Very likely, yeah.
So I think it is I don't know. It's tough, isn't it? It's tough. It's a tough thing. But I think ultimately the question is, like, does SOE doing this with Extra Life, does that mean that Extra Life, the charity, is going to get more or less money?
I think that it's more than that. That Extra Life could get just as much money or more if they said, from 9 to 5 on October 25th, every hour we are going to be online, actively involved with someone else's stream, and this is the official thing. So then, not only are they getting then somebody else's real deal becomes official for that time. I agree that that's one way that people are brought in, but leveraging the community involves less work in the future and creates a system where people may keep coming back differently without putting a lot of pressure to then do that again. Like I said, Smite chose to always have an official stream and employ people as entertainers to stream their games.
So
I think that
would be pretty cool.
one way of doing it.
It would be really cool then if SOE brought people from the community, maybe local people to San Diego or whatever, to stream the games. Would that be better with you on their official channel?
Well,
like they do with
H1Z1
H1Z1 and stuff? Yeah. Would you be behind that?
Absolutely not. The fact that people live in San Diego, and I love you guys that do, but
well, anyone who can get there. So however you get there.
It's not about being there. It's about them going somewhere else. Because the following can continue elsewhere, and the interaction can be spread out, that the benefit and the energy can then come from other people and from other sources. That when you bring everything in, you have to decide. Do you want to bring it in, or do you want to push it out, and do you want other people to put in the energy, or do you want to put in the energy? And the one-time effect, it's the one-time effect. If there were constant developer streams, or constant official streams, like I said, Smite does. They decided that they want to have, and they have 3,500, 4,000, 5,000 sometimes people watching their paid entertainers stream their game, and it's constantly going, and all of the new information is put out through that system, and they do a great job. It's very interactive, it's fun. They chose to do it that way. From the other side, if you are going to say, we'd love promoting people streaming our games, how is Extra Life not the perfect opportunity to help children and help people promote your game? Say, Are you signed up for Extra Life? Are you part of our team? Are you going to be playing an SOE game? You let us know. We'll find a way. We'll get someone on your stream. We'll have something special to bring people there. There will be actual information linked. Come on. Come one, come all. Hey, wait, we got something else going there. It takes this much effort, and you have people that are really good at entertaining people doing the work for you. Okay, I'm done.
I see how
ranting.
you feel about this. I see how you feel about this. I'm glad we talked about it.
I guess the one last thing before I move it to Locke for the next question here is that they do have quality streamers there. I mean, yeah, Omi just left, and yeah, Maggie just left, and yeah, T-Ray just left, but that doesn't mean they can't put on entertaining broadcasts. But I know it's way more than just that. It's that you really want it to be something where they're promoting the people who are participating. But let's move it on. Locke, why don't you if we've got time for one more, why don't you give us one more here?
We got time for one. Should we'll have a fluffy one to finish. We got 2 questions from someone anonymous. I haven't got a name here, but question the first: racial mounts. What would you like to see for the races that we know of? And if SOE took any monsters such as kobolds, gnolls, etc., which would you want to become playable like the Ratonga did in EQ2? Sag's gone.
Froglock, sorry. I want Froglock to be
It's
playable.
not about
Sog is
the
done.
fluffy
He's like,
questions.
I
It's like,
talked-
I want to talk about issues.
Yeah, I talked about SOE Live and Dora SOE's thing, and done. He's gone for the rest of the stream because it takes him 12 minutes to pee.
Any racial mounts? Do we have any ideas? I have no
I-
idea what any of them are in EverQuest.
I haven't even thought
I-
about it. I mean, I haven't thought about it at all.
I don't like. I'm not wholly for racial mounts. Like, I understand having a specific type of mount for the NPCs. Like, this is their favorite mount, but racial mounts are stupid. I don't know. I want you to be like. I want to be able to ride any type of mount. That can be a mount. I mean, there obviously should be like some type of limitations. Like, we shouldn't see ogres riding like spiders, like tiny spiders. I don't know. Like, it can't be stupid, but
Did you say
there needs
Chinese
to be
spiders?
options.
Tiny spider.
What'd you say?
Tiny
No,
spiders.
Tiny, not Chinese ones.
Taiwanese
Okay,
spiders.
I'm not against Asian spiders. I have no racial.
We never
spider
said you were.
It's
though.
all equal.
We never said spider.
So I mean, I can think of what someone making an MMO using real world races and trying to assign racial mounts with them, and like just how bad that would turn up. Like, I would imagine.
I don't understand the point. Yeah, I
like,
don't get why.
If I would imagine. Oh,
Camel.
India. That means you get elephants as your mount. Oh, you're from Siberia. Great, you get a tiger. Oh, you're from Arabia. Well, great, you get yourself a camel. It's like, not only are
But
they kind of
you be able to unlock all of those?
that's the thing, is that they're kind of, it's almost a stereotype or a caricature that those are the things that they're going to ride by default. I would be like, hey, I'm a human. I see those Karens riding on rhinos. I want a rhino to ride on. I don't want some puny horse. I want my freaking mount to charge through trees. So they go for a rhino instead. It should be just as difficult or just as easy. Or
So how do you feel about mounts or certain races like Karens, for example, or Froglocks or whatever, being having the ability to have mount speed since they are more of a animal than a humanoid?
I actually talked about this on the forums. Like, I posted, like, I think it was for the Karen mounts. I posted, like, I think Karen should be their mount. Like, yeah, you can have the ability to ride mounts, but they're so big. Like, Karens and ogres should be their own mount. Like, Karens, because they're animals, they just get down on all fours and run. And maybe ogres have some, special stamina thing, and they can just, like, just jog nonstop. Because, I mean, they're the most physical race in the world, I can almost say. Like, yeah, their big thing is strength, but why not have a little endurance? And their strides are huge. I don't see why, covering ground distance, is an issue for an ogre to be its own mount. I don't know. I think definitely big races shouldn't have mounts because that's just silly. Like every game that I've seen that's had a big race that has a mount, it looks retarded. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's
Maybe
because
that's
the
my
scale of the
own
mount
opinion.
has to be gigantic.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then it looks,
If
unrealistic. So I don't know. I'm gonna shut up. I'm too opinionated about this.
if what a mount does is increase your speed, it's lame to begin with. You know, if a mount is a combat accessory, that's great. If mounting, if clicking a button on your bar to magically summon an animal that appears under your ass so that you go faster is the way that we're doing things, like stop pretending the game's something new. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Even arcade,
So you're saying
like your mount follows you around, and
Storybricks
there are some good things
interactions.
about that, and you can fight on your mount a little bit.
Mhm.
I was just playing Shadow of Mordor. When you're on a mount, the combat is very different, and you fight differently. You know, if being on a horse matters, or being on whatever matters, and it matters differently, it shouldn't be racial. It should be about what you want and what you can find, and what your affinities with different groups are to find ways to train you for how to do it. And it should have a real effect on how you interact with the world. If it's a speed buff, we already have heroic movement. You know, I'd rather put on different boots that make me run really fast, but give me some sort of increased damage debuff. If I don't need a magical mount to appear under me.
I definitely think that if we do have, we should have mounts with differences if we're going to have mounts, and they should be meaningful differences. Like I said, the idea of having a rhino or something really big as a mount, yeah, it's going to kind of just knock trees out of the way. It's just going to do whatever. Something's hiding behind a tree, it's going to knock the damn tree over on it. It's just going to charge straight at it. Likewise, if you have an area where you're going to have a lot of really rocky terrain you're trying to get through, a lot of places you could potentially fall off on foot or on some other type of mount, you would go with a mountain goat. You would, befriend some mountain goat in the area. You'd throw a saddle on him or whatever, ride him bareback, and just, because mountain goats have incredible balance, you just kind of leverage on that, give it a little bit of roleplay magic, and boom, bam, you've got something that can, basically climb up an 80-degree slope where it's all rocky and treacherous because they can just kind of climb the footholds really, really carefully.
Ride him bareback and boom bam. That's what.
Yeah, that's all I
that's what
heard.
Nero
Sorry, I
did.
was laughing. My mind's in the wrong place.
Phrasing. I see what you mean.
I agree
it's
with you.
interesting as well. Thinking about it in this way, like EQN is probably the first MMO that has systems to support things like this. Like if you think of a mount as being an NPC or an agent in the world that is bound by the same Storybricks rules as everything else, with the heroic movement system that we've got already, with destructibility, I think that they could definitely play more of a part in the world rather than just being a speed boost with a skin, as mounts tend to be. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's 5 to the hour. Are we gonna do a quick roundup and thank everyone and be profusely grateful to everyone involved for a bit before? Should we go? I'll tell you what, Nero. It's your stream, so I'll let you do the honors.
Well, yes, this is of course the channel of Legendary Neurotoxin. This guy right here. You can find me all the time here on this channel. I stream a whole bunch, and when I'm not streaming, hanging out with a whole bunch of other people. Half the time is Landmark, and half the time is giveaways, and a lot of it's talk shows and some amount of tour shows and good stuff. And I gotta definitely two more things before I move it along. One, we have a couple awesome people. Definitely hats off to Viz Gaming, Geo, and Phantom X there in chat. You guys have been holding it down there. Very awesome. Thank you very much, guys. You've been doing a good job keeping things going there. And of course, Skylatron, awesome guest. Always great hanging out with you. Totally a blast. It's always a party.
Love you, people.
So moving it along then, Locke, why don't you, I don't know if we're going clockwise or counterclockwise or how it's going.
I'll go. Hello, I'm the person that's frozen for some reason on your screen. I do this and that, stuff and junk. You can find things that I've written about EverQuest Next and Landmark on a website, what is called zam.com, every Saturday. And I do other things. At Lock6Tom on Twitter, follow me. Or don't. Probably don't. It's not really worth it, to be honest. I did a proper one. I've been practicing.
Hooray! So proud of you.
Someone else go before I say something.
Clockwise, Sog.
Hi, I'm Sog. I streamed some video, played a whole lot of Landmark. Really, really excited about EverQuest Next. I have opinions. If you want to hear more of them,
No way.
if you want to hear more of them, stop by my channel and follow me on Twitter. I don't hold punches. You know, people think that everyone's paid to give opinions and give positive reviews about things. That's bullshit. And I will tell you exactly what I think about anything in or outside of video games. So stop by and ask me.
All right, Skyla.
Hi. My name is Skylatron. You can find me here on Twitch or Twitter as Skylatron or pretty much anywhere else on the internet. I'm the social media coordinator for 10 Ton Hammer, which means that if you're following us, I do all of the social media on like Twitch and Facebook and all that stuff. That's my bag. I am a variety streamer. And I love MMOs, but I'm not playing them right now because they're all terrible. And I am don't look at me like that. And I generally make a fool of myself, so make sure to come hang out sometime.
Sounds good.
Yeah, she's pretty fun to hang out with. Truth. Just go check out her channel.
You're
I
pretty fun to hang out with.
I guess you can't really count my support because I work with her, so maybe that. Maybe there's bias. But yeah, EQ Hammer, I write for
Bias gate.
weekly a few times, I guess. But no, we have a Hammer Nail article that we just started up that's I'm trying to reach out to the community and get people's opinions on different topics and send out a question to a couple people every week and get them and publish it, on EQ Hammer with all the staffers. So I haven't really gotten a ton of people interested in that. I've had a few, which is keeping us going. But if you guys want your opinions on a specific topic published like front page on EQ Hammer, contact me on Twitter. You can follow it right there below, and you should be following it anyways. But anyways, I had this huge question that I wanted to ask that was totally on the topic of things we talked today, but I didn't get to. But I want to leave it with you guys so you can mill over it as you end the show, after the show. But did World of Warcraft streamlining and making everything very single player friendly, is the reason for its success? Maybe that it drew in all of the single player console fans and all of the all of the non-multiplayer things. Is that a reason why it was the biggest MMO ever, because it changed an MMO into a single player maybe? So I don't know. That is my question I will leave you with, and I will pass it down to Neuro to shut us out for the day.
I still want to answer that question, but I'm not going to. All right, everybody. Thank you all for coming for this lovely episode of Theory Forge. Real quick check. Are either of you folks, is anybody here going to be starting up a broadcast here in the next moment or two? Because I want to keep this party going along here.
Viz with Friday Night Fight Club, right?
That starts in an hour, though, doesn't it? Is he going to be starting up with some pre-show before then?
Let me see if I can find a quick raid target for you.
Sounds good. But yeah, this has been...
We must raid.
This has been a really good episode. Been having a lot of fun hanging out. Everybody in the audience, by the way, thank you all for coming. You folks are lovely. I saw Sog posted, I think, a code or two in chat. So anybody who snagged those, congrats to you. Enjoy whatever it is. I'm guessing it's the new October suit.
Twitch GM is doing his Friday night swap meet.
Chip
I just
GM. Chip GM.
I
GM.
just- I just
Alright.
linked
Yes,
Chip's channel.
He's awesome.
I like
He
Chip. He's a nice
actually-
guy.
He is.
Yeah, like I pay attention to the community, and he hasn't really got enough recognition for what he does. Like he has literally,
Agreed.
like week in and week out, brought people together to give everybody free templates. Which, if you don't know, in Landmark is the only thing right now that you get to keep for a closed beta. So he's, it's a giant swap meet. Everything is free. You show up, you come in game. You can take any of the templates you want, save them, keep them for yourself. It's really amazing, and he's a really cool guy. You guys need to go to his Twitch, follow him, and give him some love. So,
All right. We really got to wrap this up, though. So, see y'all later. Thank you all for coming. Have a good one.
Au revoir.